Hello and welcome to this episode of Behind the Curtain. I'm your host, Gio Battaglia. We are out of our normal studio today and here at Rochester Prep Elementary School. Now, inside the school's music room, the sound of saxophone is nothing new, but the story behind the man playing certainly is. Judah Seeley, a longtime music teacher here, has taken his talents from the classroom to the big screen in Bruce Springsteen's latest biopic, and I sat down with him to talk about his role of Clarence Clemons in the film. Here's my conversation with Judah. Bruce Springsteen biopic, very exciting.
Yes.
Tell me how you got this opportunity and your involvement in the film.
Absolutely. So a year ago, around Labor Day last year, I got a message on Facebook from a guy. His name is Andy Snitzer. He's a saxophone player. And all the saxophone players in the world, they kind of know each other, especially if they're in the same genre of music. So I've never met him, but he's seen videos of me on social media, and he knew the music contractor who was trying to cast the role for the movie. And he recognized Clarence Clemons was a bigger guy. He was called the big man. He was 6'4", I'm 6'5". So he saw videos of me and he knew of me, and he recommended me to Sandy Park, which is her name, and he said, you should check out this guy Judah because I know you're trying to cast this role. And they wanted an actual musician as opposed to an actor, so that for realism's sake. So he recommended me to her, and he gave her my information. She reached out to me, and at first I questioned how legitimate it was because I didn't know anything about movies, anything like that. So, but she reached out. It was legitimate, and that's how I got the role. Yeah.
What was it like stepping into that role of Clarence Clemons, such a big name?
Yeah, it was humbling, daunting, all of the things. It was because I didn't want to, as cool as it was, I didn't want to just be up there doing my own thing. I wanted to do respect because, he passed away in 2011. He was Bruce's best friend, and he has millions of fans all over the world. Bruce does, Clarence does. And so I wanted to do him justice. So I watched lots and lots of footage, watched all of his interviews, all the ones I could find, concerts. I tried to move the way that he moved. Even though my role was very small, I still wanted to do him justice. So I did my homework, and hopefully it read well on screen.
For sure. Talk about the filming process, working with Jeremy Allen White and that star-studded cast.
Yeah, it was cool. So Jeremy Allen White, he's amazing. He's so in all of our scenes, they have to do every scene like 30 times. He gave it his all every single time. In between takes, he was very calm, very reserved. I could see that there was a lot on his mind, and so I didn't want to bother him. But every time that I did speak to him, he was very gracious, very humble, very unassuming about how great he is. Same as Bruce. Bruce Springsteen was on set the whole time I was there. I was only there for like 10 days, and every day I was there, he was there, and just giving feedback and praise, and like, you guys sound great, you guys look great. It was really, really awesome. The coolest thing I've ever done. So yeah.
Were you a Springsteen fan before the project?
I knew of him, but I wasn't like a fan to say. I remember the first time I saw him or heard of him was maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I was at a hotel and I saw this documentary about Bruce Springsteen. I knew that there was a man named Bruce Springsteen, but I had no idea how global his impact was. And so I saw this documentary. I'm like, this guy is a huge deal. He's a major deal. And I'm like, how did I not know about this guy? And then years later, when I got the role, I did my homework, and I'm like, this guy is a legend. He's an icon in all of the sense of the word. He's a rock star. He's all of these things, and he's also just very, very humble. Yeah.
You've been making music for years.
Yes.
So talk a little about your journey as a saxophonist and producer.
Yes. So I started music at School of the Arts. In middle school from 1996 to 2002. Graduated there in 2002. Went to Roberts Wesleyan College, 2002 to 2007. And I started music, my uncle taught me saxophone, my uncle Ellis Clanton. And it was just something that I gravitated towards. My mom would always play Kenny G records, Whitney Houston that had, Kenny G on it or whatever. And I just loved the sound of the saxophone. I just loved the music. I love, we went to church, we learned church music, all those things, and it just really stuck with me. And it was just something that, other kids were gravitating towards sports or different things. Music was just the thing that it just pulled me in, but yeah. And then, I started making my own music when I was in high school. and making stuff on my little keyboard, and then over time the tools started to get more sophisticated, and then I was always making music. It was my hobby. It was my joy, my craft, or whatever, you know. And then now I get to do it on a professional level, which is really cool. So, yeah.
And you've seen some success on the Billboard charts and everything like that. What does that success mean to you now compared to when you first started playing?
I mean, it's cool that I get to, the Billboard charts is you know, every musician wants to get that, they want to get recognized for the work that they do. And so when I saw my name back in 2022, on March of 2022, when I got my first #1, it was all, I don't want to say validation, but it was just like, oh, people really like what I'm doing. So that's what it really, because you do what you do because you love what you do, and if anyone else loves it, it's a bonus. But then seeing that achievement means that people really like it, you know what I mean? And so that was like, oh, okay, I'm not making a mistake doing this, you know what I mean? It's something that I enjoy and people seem to enjoy. So that's what it meant to me, that people enjoy what I'm doing. So.
How does your jazz and smooth sound compare to the energy of the E Street Band?
Oh, it's completely different, completely different. I mean, there's joy in all forms of music, all genres, and it's different in its sound, but not different in the way it makes you feel, if that makes sense. So like, you know, in my smooth contemporary jazz, you know, there's some funk elements, there's some groove, there's some R&B elements, and you know, with the E Street, you know, there's some funk and rock and soul elements. But the goal is to make your audience feel good, you know what I mean? And hopefully, whether it's smooth jazz, R&B, whatever, or you know, soul, rock, E Street, whatever, the goal is to tell a story with your music and make your audience feel good, and make hopefully you feel good in the process too. So yeah.
And has being part of the film inspired any new creative directions for your own music?
I mean, yes, yes, it has. So on my last album, I did that came out in August, called "This Is Judah." I covered one of Bruce Springsteen's songs, which is "Dancing in the Dark," and I did it to commemorate my time on the film, because that was the very first scene that we filmed, was "Dancing in the Dark." And in that song, because we had to listen to it for hours. I did, because I had to learn Clarence Clemenson's solo on that song, and so I was listening to it, and then the song just really like buried in my heart. And so I recorded that song and I put it on my record to commemorate my time. And you know, I think I will probably start adding some Bruce Springsteen songs to my repertoire in some of my shows, not for the novelty's sake, but just because I really love this music now, you know, and it commemorates a special time, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think just adding some new songs to my repertoire and just opening myself up to a new world of music that I probably would not have before. So yeah.
Get into another hat that you have on your head. You've been teaching at Rochester Prep for about 10 years.
Yeah.
What keeps you coming back each year to teach new students?
The students. I mean, I love what I do. I love that I work in an environment that where I'm trusted to do the job that I do. You know, my administration is really cool. They were understanding with the film. You know, they allowed me to go. They were very excited and very supportive. And you know, it's a very excited. They're very supportive, and it's a collaborative team here. And I just love the environment. I love the kids. The kids seem to love me. Not all of them, most of them, you know. But they seem to love me, and I love all of them. And it's just, I'm just happy to be here, you know. And they've been really, really good to me. And so yeah, that's what keeps me coming back. The kids. The administration being very supportive of the work that I do in and out of school, and being understanding of, because I'm a single dad, I raised my daughter on my own, and being understanding of my situation and things. So they're all of those things. Yes.
How did your students react when they saw you in the film for the first time? I saw the video you posted.
Yeah. Some of them, you know, the younger kids, they don't really understand. You know, they're like, how are you here and there at the same time? Like, this doesn't, they don't get it, and that's fine. You know, I showed it to them. In the video in particular, that was my kindergartners. You know, I showed them this. They're like, wow, they just clap. You know, they're so happy. Like, that's so cool. And then they're like, nice hat, because Clarence has a big hat. They're like, nice hat. I thought that was funny. But yeah, they're very, one of my older kids, they're like, Mr. Seeley, are you famous? I'm like, I guess. I don't know. I didn't want to say no. I definitely didn't want to say yes. So I said, I guess so. I don't know. So they think it's really cool. But yeah.
Talk a little bit about the premiere, and I know that the Rochester Prep staff went and saw the film, so lots of exciting things for when the film came out.
Yeah, so leading up to the world premiere, which was October 24th, there were a number of premieres. It was at the Toronto International Film Festival. It was at the New York Film Festival, which I was fortunate enough to be able to attend. Me and my fiance, they got us tickets to go see it, so that was really cool. And I got to see Jeremy. That was my first time seeing him since we wrapped filming. And so, it was cool to see him outside of Bruce mode, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? He was just very humble. When I first saw him, we were in line to, walk the carpet, and he came in a little later, and I said, hey, Jeremy. I waved at him. He was like, hey, Judah, it's good to see you. And he remembered me. I was like, that was so cool because, my fiance was there. So I'm like, I know these guys. You know what I mean? I know these guys. They know me. I'm not just saying, anyway. So that was really, really cool. And getting to walk the red carpet at the Toronto International Film Festival it was my first time ever doing anything like that. And it was just awesome. Like, he was there. Whoopi Goldberg was there, Anne Hathaway was there. There was a bunch of celebrities that were there. I was just like, what am I doing here? It was just so surreal. And at the after party, I got to take my picture with Jeremy. He was very gracious. The director, Scott Cooper, was very gracious. Everybody was just really nice and really cool. And then the world premiere was last Friday. So me and my siblings, we all went. They took me out to go see the movie. So that was really cool. And then they took the staff 2 days ago. We went to go see the movie together, so that was really special.
Nice. So. Seeing it at your hometown theater is definitely for sure.
Oh yeah. My favorite. I went to Tinseltown when I saw it at the premiere, and I've been going to that theater since I was a kid. And going to see myself on screen was just mind blowing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's your message to young people in Rochester who dream of being artists or musicians or chasing their dreams?
Practice. Practice, practice, practice. If you like practice, listen and practice. So learn from the ones that you want to emulate. If there's someone that's doing what you want to do, listen to them over and over. Reach out to them if they're still, doing what you want to do. And then take all of that information and make it your own, and then eventually the avenues to where you want to go, they will make their way towards you. You know what I mean? And when they do, make sure you're ready for the opportunity. So the way that you get ready is listening and practicing. Listen, practice, practice. Yeah.
If you could bring one lesson from the film back to the classroom, what would it be?
That's a good question. Always be prepared. Be prepared, because the director, he said, study this music, study this, study that, and then when it's time, because again, they were doing 30 takes of every scene, and you have to do your homework, literally, and figuratively. So literally, I had to study all of this music and study all these recordings, and so that when it's time to show up on film, I'm ready. You know what I mean? There's not like, well, give him a minute, he needs to get ready. It's like, no, be ready. So literally do your homework in that sense. And then for my students, do your homework. Do your actual homework. Well, yeah.
What's next for you?
Well, I just released a Christmas album that came out a couple weeks ago. And then, just seeing what happens next. I don't have any, movie roles on the horizon. I mean, if something happens, great, but I'm not searching for any. I'm just getting ready for my concerts at school, and our winter concerts are happening in about a month or so. So that's what's next for me. Yeah, school stuff.
All right, sounds good. Anything else you wanted to add that I might not have touched on?
No, just, if you want to stay up to date to my whatever I'm doing, just check me out on Facebook, Judah Seeley, Judah L. Seeley. And on Facebook, Instagram, my website is judahseeley.com. So, yeah.
Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere is playing now in theaters. Coming up after the break, we are back in the studio to talk with a Grammy award-winning singer-songwriter who is bringing attention to a rare heart disease that is often misdiagnosed. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Switching topics to something a little more health related, but with a music star to share the journey with us. Recurrent pericarditis is a painful heart condition that can return again and again, disrupting daily life. Country music star and Grammy-winning artist Carly Pearce knows that firsthand. She's joining Dr. Jonathan Salick, a cardiologist specializing in pericardial diseases, to talk about her journey and the Life Disrupted campaign, which aims to raise awareness and help others recognize the symptoms early. Dr. Salick and Carly, thank you so much for joining me. Doctor, let's start off with you. What is recurrent pericarditis and what are the symptoms?
Yeah, so the pericardium is the fibrous sac around the heart, and pericarditis is inflammation of the pericardium, itis being inflammation. In the vast majority of cases, we never figure out what actually causes it. The classic symptom is chest pain, and specific type of chest pain that gets worse when you lay down and worse when you take big breaths in, and it can really limit your ability to exercise. Patients often also have shortness of breath and fatigue and other just very debilitating symptoms as they really can't function in their everyday life. There's good treatment, but in up to a third of patients, those symptoms can recur and last for months or even years, and that's what recurrent pericarditis is.
Carly, let's go over to you. Tell us about your RP diagnosis and how did it impact your life and career?
I first discovered that I had pericarditis when I was, in a down season during the pandemic in 2020, and had, much like what Dr. Salick said, the chest pains, and where it got worse when I was lying down, and I would get relief when I would bend over, and shortness of breath and difficulty. I was an avid runner. I am an avid runner, and difficulty with any kind of exercise where my heart rate would get higher. And over the years, I had different flares that I just kind of dismissed. And in 2024, I had a very big flare that kind of sent me into recurrent pericarditis. But I've felt really good, and I feel like I'm pretty lucky to have not had any major flares in the last year.
Now, how can someone be sure their symptoms are not being misdiagnosed? Doctor, how important is early diagnosis in RP?
Yeah, so great question. We know from the data that the average patient gets 2 or 3 incorrect diagnoses before getting the correct one, and might see 2 or 3 physicians before finding the right physician who actually makes a diagnosis. So it really is important to advocate for yourself if you have symptoms that you think might be consistent with recurrent pericarditis, and it's critical to get treated and diagnosed early, both to get treated so you start to feel better, and also to avoid any deleterious sequela of the condition long term if it goes undiagnosed and untreated.
Carly, we'll go back over to you. What is the goal of the Life Disrupted campaign, in your words?
I think the goal is to raise awareness and to be more diligent if you are experiencing symptoms, to be proactive and your biggest advocate. For me, I was dismissed by several doctors and really had to advocate for myself that this wasn't just in my head. This wasn't just anxiety. This wasn't just a busy schedule. This was something that my body was yelling at me, telling me that something was wrong. So I feel that that's the most important thing that you can do if you're having any kind of symptoms.
Thank you both so much for joining us. Definitely great information. Doctor, before we let you guys go, where can we go for more information and find those helpful resources?
Yes, I'm so delighted to be part of this campaign, Life Disrupted. The website www.lifedisrupted.com has a lot of great patient resources about how to get diagnosed and where to find help and information. And so go to www.lifedisrupted.com to find out more.
Some great information there. Thank you, Dr. Salick and Carly Pearce, for sharing your journeys and stories and how we can get the word out about this often misdiagnosed disease. Coming up after the break, we are talking all things New Music Friday. We've seen some big releases from some big names, so we got to talk about them all. We'll be right back. Welcome back. To close out this episode of Behind the Curtain, we have to talk about New Music Friday. We saw some big releases from some names that we haven't heard from in a while. First, Hilary Duff releasing her latest single, Mature. It's her return to music in 10 years since she dropped her last album. And I just like how fun she can keep her music. I did a marathon of over the weekend waiting for this song to come out, and I watched iconic videos like Wake Up and Beat of My Heart. And that is just music that people can put on and feel that nostalgia that Hilary Duff carries, but also just feel that sense of wanting to dance and having more energetic music. When I go on social media, I see, someone releases a slow song, there's a million people in the comments saying we want something that's fun and dancey. So I feel like this is delivering exactly that. The subject line kind of matches up with where she is in her life 10 years later. She's talking about being mature, but she still has that kind of risque approach to love and relationships. So Mature definitely gets a thumbs up from me. I wish we could listen to the song together or listen to the video together. But unless Hilary Duff gives that green light herself, we'll just talk about it because there is lots to talk about. Also on the docket for New Music Friday, Katy Perry. Very shocking that she released a song. It's called Band-Aids, and it came out pretty quickly after her last album, 143. Which, if you keep up with Katy Perry and her pop culture, had some controversy around it with the producers on that album and the generation of the art that was associated with it and her Lifetimes tour. But on Band-Aids, she completely strips the people that she worked with on the last album and brings a whole new crew to a familiar sound that Katy Perry has. She has that signature sound. We know what to expect when we're listening to a Katy Perry song, and I feel like she does that. I just feel like I'm at a point, love Katy Perry, was with one of the boys in Teenage Dream as they were coming out in real time. But I just feel like at this point right now with her, I don't know exactly what I'm after with her. I don't know what sound I'm after. There were some good songs, despite how controversial it was. There were some songs on 143, her latest album, that I still keep in rotation. And if I'm in the mood to listen to Katy Perry, I'll throw some of those songs on. But I feel like this song maybe was a little too repetitive in places. The strong points are strong. The bridge in the song, I think, is great. She works with producer Max Martin, who we just saw all over Taylor Swift's latest album, and they're hit makers. They know how to make a successful song. And I think it has the potential to grow. It's only been out for a few hours now, so we'll see how it adds up on my playlist. But I'm curious to see what else she does, if this is just a droplet single or if we have a new album on the way. Curious to see how she moves forward after this track. And we'll do top 3 New Music Friday for this Friday. It's actually a song from TikTok. It's called The Hand. I saw it a few weeks ago on my For You page on the TikTok app, and I saw a bunch of people reposting it, and it had a bunch of likes and comments. But before even seeing the engagement that the post had, I was just captivated by some of the lyrics in the song and people in the comments. What was really cool, I love looking at the community aspect of music and how people internalize these kinds of songs, and everyone was picking out a different lyric that they thought was the best and was explaining how it connected to them. And by the end of the video, you saw every comment and every lyric pasted out in the comments with someone saying that they connected with it and related to it. So that's out now. And I was kind of worried about the release of this song because you don't know when you hear her, the artist whose name I am blanking on right now, when you hear her recording of the song on the TikTok when she's doing it live, you don't know if that emotion will carry over to the official studio recording that you're listening to. And I definitely think that that holds true to the emotion and the vulnerability that she carried in that song. We're going to make a quick edit here because I want to give her tens. Annabelle Dinda is the name of the artist whose song The Hand is out now after 1.8 million likes on TikTok, 28.7K comments. I don't follow many people on TikTok, but 3 of my followers reposted it, and she has 315,000 followers on the platform. So I think The Hand is going to be something that is just the start of a successful career for Annabelle Dinda. Let me know over on X at Gio Battaglia _ what your favorite song this New Music Friday was, and any upcoming releases that you are excited for, because this was a good year for music, and I think it is going to just continue to go up. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Behind the Curtain. Thank you to Judah Seeley and Dr. Salick and Carly Pearce for sharing their journeys and their stories. And we will see you next week. Take care.